All right? You know that feeling, right? You see someone you'd love to talk to, but this little voice in your head just screams, nope, not now. Well, in this explainer, we are going to break down the psychology behind making a confident approach. And trust me, it's probably not what you think.
Okay, so let's dive right in. And to start, we've got to tackle this one really common and honestly super costly lie that a lot of us believe about confidence. So the person behind our source material calls this the most expensive lie I ever believed. And what is that lie? It's the idea that some people are just born with confidence, you know? And the rest of us, well, we're just not. It's this belief that keeps us stuck on the sidelines thinking, well, that's just not who I am. But here's the thing. All the research points to the exact opposite. Confidence isn't some fixed trait you're either born with or you're not. No, it's actually a skill. It's something you build through action. And that's incredible news, right? Because it means approaching someone is a skill you can actually learn step by step. All right, so you ready? Let's get into the first real actionable trick. And this one is so cool because it completely changes the dynamic of the whole interaction before you've even said a single word. So the big idea here is to avoid what's called a cold approach, where you just walk up to a total stranger out of the blue. It can be kind of jarring for the other person's brain, right? It's like going from 0 to 60 in a split second. Instead, the trick is to use something called social priming to, well, warm things up first. In this warm-up, it is ridiculously simple. It's literally these 3 steps. Before you even think about walking over, just make a little bit of eye contact. Then give a small, genuine smile. That's it. Seriously. What you're doing is letting their brain see you and tag you as a safe, friendly person before the real conversation even begins. And just like that, you've completely changed the game. Your approach doesn't feel like an interruption anymore. It feels like a continuation of that tiny moment. In their mind, you're not just some random stranger. You're that person they just shared a quick, friendly smile with. And that totally changes the entire vibe of the situation. Okay, let's move on to the next tool. And this one, it's all about handling that nervousness, that anxiety that bubbles up. It's a bit counterintuitive, but man, is it effective. I mean, we've all done this, right? You're nervous, but you try to play it cool. Act all unbothered, like this is no big deal. But the problem is all the mental energy you're using to hide your anxiety. That's the exact same energy you need to actually be a human and, connect with them. So instead of hiding it, you do the opposite. There's this technique called anxiety reappraisal. And get this, it's backed by research from Harvard. It turns out that just by saying what you're feeling out loud, actually naming the emotion, you can reduce its power over you. It's like you take its control away. So imagine saying something like this. I'll be honest, I almost talked myself out of coming over here. It sounds scary, but it does something amazing. It just completely disarms the entire situation. For both of you. All of a sudden, you're not pretending to be some super cool, confident person. You're just being real. And that vulnerability, that's what creates an instant connection. It makes you human. But here's the really cool part. It makes the other person feel chosen. Think about it. You weren't just looking for anyone to talk to. You were nervous specifically about talking to them. And that feeling of being singled out in a good way, it's surprisingly and incredibly attractive. All right, our third trick. Now, this one isn't really a tactic or a line to say. It's a huge shift in your goal for the entire conversation. It's all about your mindset.
Look, people can feel the energy you bring to a conversation. And when your goal is to impress someone, that energy feels tense. It feels like a performance. You're putting all this pressure on the interaction. And honestly, it usually just suffocates the conversation before it can even get started.
Because here's the secret. People don't really fall for someone who's impressive. They fall for someone who's interested. So the goal is to flip your whole mindset. Instead of I need to show you how awesome I am, it becomes, wow, I actually want to find out who you are. And that simple shift from performing to being curious, it changes everything.
Okay, our final trick. This one builds right on that idea of being genuinely interested, and it's maybe one of the most powerful and underused tools we have for creating an instant connection. And what is that tool? It's their name. I mean, think about it. Studies have shown that hearing our own name lights up our brain in a really unique way. It's like a little signal that says, hey, you're seen, you're recognized. It's a shortcut to connection. Now, how you use it is super important. The steps are simple. First, you get their name. Then, and this is the key, you use it just once. Weave it into the conversation naturally.
Because, repeating someone's name over and over feels weird and kind of like a sales tactic. But just one simple, natural use, it creates this little spark of connection that's incredibly powerful.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. We've talked about tools and techniques, but it all comes down to one final really important truth. This is the mindset shift that actually makes you take that first step. We get so focused on the fear of the approach, right? The fear of what? A 2-minute chat that maybe goes nowhere? That feels like the scary part, but it's not. The real fear, the thing that actually hurts, is the years of regret you might feel from walking away. It's that voice in your head going, what if I just said hi? That's the real pain.
So really, it all boils down to this one question you have to ask yourself. Who in your life is worth just 30 seconds of your discomfort? Because think about it. The worst case scenario is a tiny bit of awkwardness. The best case scenario? It could literally change your life. And it all starts when you decide that maybe, just maybe, the person right in front of you is worth finding out.